We've been discussing the macronutrients and how much of our calorie intake should come from each of the macronutrients. So let's apply this to a real case. We have here an individual, 21 years old, 5'4", 180 pounds, with sedentary lifestyle. Let's take a look at the macronutrient distribution report. In the first column, we have the breakdown of macronutrients. In the middle column, we have the AMDR goal. This is the acceptable macronutrient distribution ranges. And then we have the intake of this case study. The AMDR identifies what percent of the total calorie intake should be consumed by an individual. So for carbohydrates, an individual should consume 45 to 65% of their total calories. 10 to 35% of the total calories should come from protein, and 20 to 35% of the calories should come from fat. So now we need to identify how many calories did this individual consume. So we go down to the nutrient report and we see that the calories are listed here, and this individual consumed 1,389 calories. Now that we know the total calories for the day, we can identify whether or not this individual consumed the correct percent of calories based on the AMDR goal. So in this case, we see that this individual consumed 43% of 1,389 calories from carbohydrate, 17% of the 1,389 calories from protein, and 41% of the 1,389 calories from fat. Then we want to compare this to the AMDR goal. And what we see is that this individual consumed less calories from carbohydrate than what is recommended. Now we look at protein. 17% is within the correct range, and fat at 41% is higher than the accepted. So what we gather from this information is that of the 1,389 calories that she's consuming, she's not getting enough of those calories from carbohydrate, and she's getting too much from fat. So we would like to see an adjustment in the percentage so that she's consuming a little bit more of her calories from carbohydrate and a little bit less from the fats. Another thing to note is that the 3 macronutrients must add up to 100%. And that is true because it is each of these components is a portion of the total calories, so it's a portion of the total, or 100% of the calories. What that means to us is that these carbohydrates that we said are too low, when we add carbohydrates to the diet, not only is it going to change this number, but it's also going to change the percent of calories that came from the other 2 nutrients, because this is now a higher number, these other 2 would be lower. We would also see the total calories increase. The next section of the report that we want to look at is the fat distribution report. So this identifies the breakdown of the type of fats. And we have not discussed the different types yet, but you might identify the names of saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and polyunsaturated fat. Once again, these, like the macronutrients, are a percent of the total calories. So the goals are listed here in the middle, and we can look at whether or not this individual met the goals. So the saturated fat, 13%, is higher than the recommended amount. The monounsaturated fats are within range, and the polyunsaturated fats are slightly above range. One thing to note here is that the saturated fat, this is a percent of the total calories. When we look down in the nutrient report, you're going to see a very different recommendation and percentage. This one is based on the grams that were consumed and compared to the DRI, which is the dietary reference intake. So this is the recommended amount, total amount consumed for the day. Not based on calories, but the total number of grams. she was within range of the grams of saturated fat for the day, but her total percent of calories was high. I know this can seem a little confusing, but as you are doing homework assignments and answering questions on tests, make sure that you identify first whether or not you're talking about the AMDR or the percent of calories, or if you are talking about the DRI with grams when you're dealing with the macronutrients. Thank you for watching, and if you have questions, please ask your instructor. Thank you.